Let's go.
I'm extremely confused, but that's okay because that's normal for me.
I think Kevin got it.
Oh yeah.
This is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise Rewatch series. Enterprise at 8. All right. It's been just over 20 years since tonight's episode Detained first aired, but we're just getting started here at Enterprise at 8. I'm Jody Simpson, and tonight, yes, he is here actually. My co-host tonight is none other than the man for whom would show up for dinner in his honor. Possibly late, but he would still do it. Adam Woodward.
Never late, Jody. Never late.
Some of us in the pre-screen lobby would disagree, but then
or
anyway,
how about on Thursdays at 9?
Or at Thursdays at 9 when everybody starts at 8. Anyway, also joining Adam and I, our awesome producer and the man who also thinks that food tastes like sawdust, Dave Mater.
Yes, I'm here for the Quantum Leap reunion, Jody, and that's what I was riffing on there at the intro. Was the fact we got Dean Stockwell and Scott Bakula back here.
Oh,
I'm a hologram from the future.
That's right.
All right, and of course, who could forget the guy who smiles every time Archer gets a beatdown, Kevin Millard.
He didn't get any beatdowns this time.
Yeah,
really.
He got a little roughed up.
Mayweather got roughed up.
Yeah, Mayweather got the. It should have been Archer that got them, but anyway, it is what it is. Tonight's episode, of course, as I mentioned, is Detained. This is the 21st episode of the first season, and of course of the series. This is the one where Archer and Mayweather accidentally enter a militarized zone and are detained by an alien race called Tandarians. Not to be confused with tandoori chicken, which is very yummy. But anyway, who are at war with the Suliban. Both men find themselves sharing cells with some Suliban detainees who they believe are wrongly imprisoned. Oh, we're not plugging you. You never show up on time. Take that down. All right. Thank you. All right. Anyway, what did we think of this Quantum Leap reunion / Enterprise episode?
Who wants to go?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was all right.
It was serviceable anyway. It's not. There's nothing deep here. There's nothing new, but
no,
it's good. It was a fun time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a different. Well, I guess it really wasn't that different from some of the episodes that we've seen in previous shows, but. I didn't mind the ending. I thought the ending was all right. I really liked T'Pol in this episode as well. Still a standout. And you know what little flocks we got, unfortunately.
I can tell you're an enlightened man.
You're an enlightened man.
Turning on the charm.
What about dinner?
What about dinner? Are you a vegetarian?
Vulcan charm.
Yeah, that is some Vulcan charm there, isn't it?
I was hoping you'd join me for dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Overall, I thought it was a decent episode. I wouldn't say it's like a top rated episode for me at all, but it's not. I can't find too much fault with it. Like it's decent enough, and the story's good enough, I guess.
I think after last week we were
anything's better.
Yeah. It was nice to see
really.
That come back. I thought the ending was. I thought they overreacted a little bit. You know, with Trip going around shooting everything up, but
yeah. These shuttle pods, guys, like they can go around and like they were like boom, boom, boom,
gun turrets.
He's just knocking down everything. Like he's like woo.
You got Malcolm's in there blowing things up as well. But
yeah,
they went from like zero interference to like maximum interference in like no time at all.
Right.
Prime directive. Fuck that.
I love that whole thing.
I thought you decided not to interfere with other cultures.
In this case, I'm making an exception. Understood?
You know, like every
in
other
this
time.
case, or in every case going forward.
Whatever. I mean, every time Archer leaves the ship. Yeah, exactly. Crazy. All right. Well, anyway.
Like
Not
for
all we
me,
have to
like
say about this, or we got more?
I got some things to say.
I know, I'm just kidding.
I think obviously like the guest star was the big feature of this. Dean Stockwell, who of course played Al on Quantum Leap, opposite Scott Bakula from 1989 to 1993. And I have a litany of Quantum Leap things here to plug if I tonight. But I remember even when this aired back in 2002, like that was like, oh look, these two are gonna be back together. Was HD around in 2002? I don't think
this
so.
was yes, it was.
I think it
And
was,
This
but
was the
not
first
common.
series that was shot in HD. Of the
Okay,
Star Trek side.
Yeah, it can digital, right? Like, is that what they mean? by
No, HD is in like over 480 480p.
Okay, but like Star Trek, the original series was filmed. So if you go back to the original,
They were all filmed in something that could be done, but the TV broadcast standards at the time were only 480.
Right.
So this was the first one that was in high def. I remember watching this on my first high def set.
First
So, there you
one,
go.
first one in like widescreen format too.
Yeah.
All the others have been 4:3 before that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Dave, are you going to be on live tonight for BB Can? Yes, I will. I will be on tonight for Big Brother Canada 10, week 8. Yes. But I think that
Notice
also
the excitement through the panel.
Oh yeah,
We're all just like, yay.
we are here for it. We're here for it.
It's not Star Trek. Who cares? All right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
He was also Dean Stockwell was also Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica, which
Yeah.
I think is his definitive, like,
Yes.
he's the best
So
thing
much
I ever saw
better.
him do.
Yeah.
Did we watch this episode in real time when it came out? I think I did.
I
I'm pretty
did.
sure.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
I remember. Yeah.
no.
I was already out. I was already out of this by this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Kevin didn't have that kind of dedication and determination.
Yeah. From
What
here on
year did
out,
this air?
This is
2002.
always the first time I've seen an episode.
April of 2002. Now, I think what's interesting to me about this episode is, like, obviously it's kind of like this allegory for the Japanese internment and
Yes.
and things from World War II, and they kind of as much say
Well,
that in
it's
the
also,
episode.
when you think about it, it's also the reversal of what was going on in the world as well, because in the world at that point we had Guantanamo Bay was starting to get full, stuff like that. So there was a lot
I'm
of
trying
stuff
to
going on.
remember the public consciousness of that in that particular month, because September 11th was only 7 months earlier or whatever it was, and then
Yeah.
like and
Taliban,
Suleiman, the cabal, it's like very
Cabal,
a little bit on the nose there. How it's just about how you look and things like that. So the writers were bringing a lot of
That's a
lot of it in.
great point, and I think like what difference time makes, because back then I would have looked at this very much differently than I am
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
Right.
me too.
Yeah, like this, just like persecuting, I guess, like a whole group of people, and you think about like the war in
2002, it
Afghanistan.
was very pro America at this point. So,
But
everybody was, everybody felt the pain of those days, and that was kind of like everybody was kind of in an effort to, demolish.
that's also pretty
the evil.
progressive, though, Jody. I mean, like, as far as you can't look at everybody under the same paintbrush.
Absolutely, and that's
Yeah.
one of the big focuses of this episode, right? Is that just because they are Taliban doesn't mean that they're bad in any way. They they're just in a bad position.
They have families. They have
Yep.
wives that
Yeah.
they can't get to.
And actually, I think one of the most interesting scenes in this is when Archer looks back at the kid after they're about to escape at the end, and the kid's like, my dad's still there, and Archer's just like, he's like, what do I do, right? Like, so I thought it was interesting how they handled some of that, even though I don't think the actor can portray that very well, but.
Is it Sam's asking, is it weird not a lot of people do not know about Japanese internment camps? So I think a lot, well, I don't know, it was part of my Great 10 history.
It was part of, well, we grew up in the Canadian history classes, so I don't know if it's different.
I don't know what
from
in
America,
Newfoundland what the curriculum includes, but in Ontario it was definitely
but
taught.
I would hope you've learned this stuff as well. So
this episode is similar to Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. I don't know. Like,
I don't know how similar it is, but some of the same premises, I guess.
some of them, but this like idea, like, at the time, like the U.S. was in pain, the allies of the United States in pain, because September 11th, I think, in New York City was very close to home for Canadians, especially, I think, too. And
Sure.
and like this idea, like, we were going to go fight in Afghanistan, we were going to take out the Taliban, which to the Suleiman has a lot of characteristics. Like 20 years later, that the results of that war, and kind of looking at all of this in retrospect, and the characters that like the alien race that is like doing the oppression here, like they're portrayed as not completely like mustache twirling villain types. Like they kind of are somewhat reasonable, and even the Suleiman characters in the episode say as much. Like they're like, well, like we kind of grew up together and we lived together, but then when the cabal, the militant faction, or in this temporal Cold War started like killing people and blowing up things, and there were Suleiman, like innocent Suleiman being killed on the streets, that this sort of it led to this, which I guess like you can kind of follow that logic, and how they kind of got there maybe. Even though it's obviously wrong and immoral, but I think fear does a lot of interesting things to people, and I think like that's what this Star Trek episode is really kind of about more than anything.
Yeah, and I also think it's interesting when you see like Mayweather as well as Archer, both of them kind of clue into the fact that they really are kind of racist, because they did have a certain thought process to them, and then they started realizing what was actually going on, and they started realizing that maybe
that's because their only interaction with the Suleiman has been negative.
It's been negative, right? Exactly. Well, and that could be the same thing for something like September 11th, right? People probably never even heard of the Taliban before that, so they think that the Taliban is all bad, which realistically they probably are, but that doesn't mean that Middle Eastern people are bad in any way. Like that. It's just it's hard.
Well, people are afraid of what
people.
People are afraid of people who they perceive as being antagonistic towards them. Like, and obviously, like there was like Islamic terrorism, which was a lot of people died on 9/11 and in like the London bombing was that 2002, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right, like not that long around this time, maybe like that the London subway bombings, and so there was a lot of fear and like and that's what like the Patriot Act in the States and how much power was even given post 9/11, and the Guantanamo Bay was
the London bombings were in 2005.
Okay,
so
it was
3 years after this.
3 years after this, which only heightened things like the Bush years, right? Like I think the second Bush. Sam just also here pointing out in the comments. We were not having a lot of teaching about residential schools and Japanese internment camps. And the first time we were talking about residential schools was grade 8 music class, because Buddy from Tragically Hip had wrote a song about it. And I don't I think like
I was never taught about residential schools.
They were mentioned in my curriculum, but not like into any sort of.
They were mentioned sort of like we just had to deal with them kind of.
I think
they were just there.
I think they were still a good thing back then.
Yes, exactly.
We didn't know the truth.
Yeah, right. And Sam saying after 9/11, it was the same reaction after Pearl Harbor with the Japanese people think they had spies. Yeah, but like they didn't throw every German American into a camp, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it also has to look. It was a little bit about looking different and not, the sort of ethnic. Racism of the time, right? Like there was definitely like there were other laws during that period, especially in the United States, like Asians couldn't marry other people, like the non-Asians, and they couldn't own things, and like there was a lot of discrimination against Asians before World War II.
We're getting very deep for a Star Trek.
We are.
Episode. Yeah,
but
that's why this is a good episode. It sparks good conversation. That's what Star Trek is for.
That's true. It's hard to have a conversation about Picard season 2, episode 7. That's for sure.
True.
Don't even get me started on that. I'm still mad.
So, a couple of things for me though, away from the comparisons to 9/11 and all that stuff, is like, why did Archer and Mayweather get detained? I don't. Like, wouldn't they just be taken away and questioned somewhere else? They're clearly not Suleiman. They're clearly,
Well, this to me seems like it's more of an intelligence camp, right? Like they want to detain people to get information out of them.
No, but they've got people there for years. Like that's
yeah.
In this case, I think in the case of Archer and Mayweather, like they at first they thought they could be infiltrators because the Suleiman have that shape-shifting ability, like they able to.
Yeah, they did mention that in the episode,
right? So, but even after they figure out they're not Suleiman, he kind of explains to him like, well, we'll get you out of here in a few days. But then Dean Stockwell's character, like I guess, gets that intelligence briefing where it's like, well, they've met the Suleiman before, and there's stuff here.
Not only that, we were chasing a Klingon, and he landed at Broken Bow.
No, but they didn't know that. it right away.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So
that's
initially,
something that he
I
mentions
think he's
later on.
sincere in the beginning. He's like, "Yeah, you'll be here for a couple days, and then we'll move you along and whatever."
Once we
you
realize
want
you're
to
not a
like
threat,
you want to
you're
like him at the beginning. I mean, he was
Yeah,
likable.
he had kind of like a nice personality at the beginning, and then once we got into the whole like, oh, by the way, we know about the Klingon thing, we know that you brought them back, all this stuff, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now he's an
Yeah,
asshole.
but again, what like I don't see anything. I think if anything, that shows that Suliban was, against the Archer's crew, and anyway,
Well, I
found
think
him very
he
very
saw- he
hostile.
saw- I think he saw a chance to get intelligence, right? Like,
Yeah.
he saw a chance to get intelligence about like one of the leaders, like, and they don't get that chance very often, I don't think.
Right. Like later on.
Did he speak of the temporal Cold War?
Right. Like we get that drop in the episode.
And that, I mean, I think Archer's failing. It was like, yeah, I heard about that. Tell me what you know.
But I don't like you, so screw off. Like you're being a dick, and so I'm not giving you anything. It's kind of
Especially for a
like-
guy that has said multiple occasions, not including this episode, oh, I'm just so curious, it gets me in trouble. It's like, okay. Not even one thing. The guy mentions temporal Cold War, and instantly you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking
Well, he
about?
knows, but he doesn't have any trust.
They
with-
got a bloody bunk that's like completely locked up right now in Enterprise because of this. Like, come on.
Oh
now.
yeah, right. Yeah, we haven't even gone into Daniel's quarters yet. It's been sealed
Yeah.
off.
Daniel's quarters is still sealed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So curious. Just haven't bothered to
I'm
open
so
it yet.
curious, but you know what? Honestly, I'll get into it when I get into it.
They're using the T'Pol version of curiosity.
I know. It's a big problem with me.
I'm curious.
Problem with me. That's not the only problem Archer has, but anyway.
No.
I'm a friend of Al's.
He's a friend of
One
ours.
thing just about this episode, the only thing that struck me about this is how come Trip never shuts the fuck up when he's on
Oh
the
my
bridge?
god, he's literally the only one I didn't like in this
He's
episode.
not in command. Why is
Yeah,
he always
So like
interrupted?
she's having a discussion with him, and she's like, "Okay, so like, is it all right if we like swing by and blah blah blah?" And they're like, "No, you're not allowed to get near here." Blah blah blah. And Trip's like, "What? We gotta get our captain back." And you're just like, "Shut up, Trip." Like you're literally second in command right now. Shut the fuck up. Like your current captain is talking. Why are you talking over her?
He's always so pissed whenever.
Jackass.
This is like, how many times has Archer gone missing this season already?
Oh, probably 5 or 6 anyway.
Yeah, and like,
And
They
even
really
when
got to put a tag on this guy.
and even when Tripp's lost, he's like saying, "Oh, the captain's gonna come get me." Yeah.
Yeah, captain's coming to get me. It's like, I don't think so, pal. But anyway, whatever.
yeah,
He really doesn't like you, Trip.
Yeah, he's really trying to get away from you, Trip. Maybe you should figure this out.
yeah. It's like
You know
that
what else is-
blind loyalty.
It's also kind of funny is how much Mayweather gets talking to the whole bridge crew, like superiors, and this new guy today,
Oh, the guy
plot
that's
accords
sitting in his
with this.
place?
He said
Yeah.
nothing. He just
Yeah. She's like, she's like, at one point, she's like, okay, how long is it going to be? And somebody says, oh, it's like 5.5 light years away or something like that. And she's like, okay, let's go. And then the guy's just like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's like, get us out. There was someone
Yeah,
filling
get us
in
out of
too
here or
on-
something like
at
that,
Reed's
yeah.
post as well, like later on in the episode, and like they didn't even show us
it
the
made more
battle.
sense for Reed though, because
Well,
Yeah.
it's good. It's finally glad. I'm glad to see that somebody else, drives the ship other than Mayweather 24/7. So
well,
Yeah, you don't get too
you
many.
guys got to
shots.
sleep sometime.
I'll try to see.
They must got an autopilot on that.
I
thing,
do
though.
find it interesting.
They got some
that-
sort of cruise control.
that they finally give Mayweather like an episode, and he still barely talks in it.
They gave him a little bit more, especially near the end, where
But honestly, the stuff that we hear from him, is it really worth it?
listen,
No.
Kevin, at least he didn't tell a ghost story tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no ghost stories. Just imagine him sitting in the cell. So this reminds me of the ghost story that
This
my
isn't turning
dad
into one
used
of
to
your
tell.
famous ghost stories, is it? Would make
Yeah,
a
this
good
is the one
sir.
about the Suliban internment camp. Like,
Well, he's got one now.
yeah, now he's got
yeah,
one.
you
Like,
got
remember
his
that
face
time when I had to hang out with Archer for like 4 days straight?
4 days straight. We were pooping in a bucket together, and we got to take that jumpsuit all the way down in order to get to the caboose. So it's rough. Yeah, there's some inconsistency with his beat down here because like later on he looks like
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
Rougher
he's got
too.
cuts. He in one scene he's got cuts at one spot, and then in another time it's somewhere different. It's like,
I think they both have the cut on the lip in the same place too.
Yeah, they love to give you like, oh, I got to.
well, that's where the ring is on the guy that was hitting him. Right?
Yeah, on the guard. Yeah, like and then him eating that sawdust, the nut sack portion.
He is eating a lot. He eats in every scene in the back half of this episode. He's eating.
Yeah, he's always eating. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
he's like-
sawdust. It tastes like sawdust, guys. Maybe he likes sawdust. Maybe that's the key.
He is intense.
Maybe he's like one of those people that like my weird fetishes or whatever it is that they have on TV every so often, where it's like people like eat chalk and stuff like that, or eat sofas.
Yeah, but
and
again, like
maybe
you
he
know,
just eats sawdust.
when that. Yeah.
Back when we were long hauling, we used to chew up the wood.
What's on the ground? Like some straw?
Sawdust, like straw, exactly. Like, but didn't like when they were found out that they weren't enemies. Again, we're gonna treat you a little bit better, get you out of the population, maybe give you some,
They
cruise
gave him the
cordage.
cell. It's like okay.
Yeah, well, in his answer throughout the episode is like it's
Overcrowding.
regulations or whatever. It's
And
We have very strict
overcrowding. They're
regulations.
overcrowded.
Yeah, they're overcrowded.
Yeah, but as soon as he starts seeing them engage with the population, he really should have pulled them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
or just put them in
But I think that
isolation.
was the point. Was he wanted them to actually mingle with them to get more information from them, right?
He's like, no, here, go, drop some plans for how you're gonna create an escape together, and you're, like he, because he becomes sympathetic towards them, and I think he kind of sees this.
Why is
great.
there so many Pac-Mans on this? That's what I really want to know.
He's
Like, are they designing Pac-Man? Is that what they're doing?
I guess so. Yeah, they're weird little.
I don't even know what those little
pie
glyphs
charts.
are, but half of them look like, yeah.
Yeah, like I just think that
One looks
Dean
like Baby
Stockwell's
Yoda.
Dean Stockwell's character, I think, is kind of an idiot. Like it's especially by the end.
Well, he's
where-
a company man, right? Like that's what he is. He's got
He's
a
like,
job to do. That's
what are
what
you
he's
doing?
Yeah.
You know?
He even looks at the end in this scene after they get the jump on him or whatever. He looks just befuddled.
Yeah.
Like,
He's like, how did this happen?
what the fuck happened?
Yeah, like he's been
Somebody is
completely
shit.
trounced. He completely underestimated Sam Beckett here.
You know what
And,
I didn't get? I didn't get why when Reed was in the full outfit and everything, and he goes down, and I guess he must have brought some charges with him because he's got these charges for the wall, and they're flashing and they're stuck to the wall, and instantly the two guards are like, "We better go look at that." Like,
and
like-
they
but the
don't,
better-
die.
The better part of that scene was when Reed has just got this shit-eating grin in his face, like, "Oh, I get
Yes.
to blow something up."
yeah, he's like, all right, I finally get to use the C4 that I've had in my hold for ages.
Yeah, there's Reed in the Sulaban makeup.
And that was another thing is that it takes like Travis takes his, is that you, Malcolm? And then the same with the captain, like
Well, Archer's just like Malcolm
it's me.
automatically, like Malcolm.
Yeah, I actually liked that moment where Archer was like, "Nice to see you, Malcolm," and he goes, "How'd
How'd you know? It's kind of a distinct
Fox
face.
is a fuck up.
Yeah.
He didn't
I don't
do
see
right.
it at all. Like sorry,
Oh, I
guys.
totally see it.
It took me a second because I had forgotten that this is what they do in the episode. But although they tease it earlier on with the whole with Phlox and the doing the
Well, you don't
surgical-
know what he's doing, right? You just know that something's happening. But you
Again,
don't
Phlox barely on this show.
barely on
Yeah,
the show at
really.
all?"
This is literally one of the reasons for failure, I think.
I think one of the things too is like they put a lot of emphasis on guest stars, and they in this first season they should have been doing way more with their characters.
Well, you got to remember this is the season to draw the people in, right? Like they.
yeah, the reunion between
know.
the Quantum Leap.
I think that's the
guys.
same reason why in Next Gen you had a whole bunch of episodes that were literally just retellings of the original series episodes, right? Like
yeah,
you had the drunken one, you had the hostile takeover one, and all
yeah,
that
like
shit.
the naked now,
naked
and, like,
now, and all that.
and the old the one that made you old or whatever the
Yeah.
disease that and
Well, that was in the second season.
right because it's Pulaski, it's a
That was
Pulaski episode, but,
Pulaski, yeah.
yeah, but they did a bunch of that. But then like Next Gen kind of found its own footing. I guess Enterprise does too, right? Eventually,
Oh, the
Yeah, right
third and
before they
fourth season
cancel
are
it.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right before they
They're
cancel it.
great.
but we still gotta get through the rest of this.
If you
first
can get
season.
through this, you can get through the rest of the series, no problem.
is the second season gonna be?
It
better
only
than
gets
this?
better.
Oh, poor
Yeah.
Kevin. We've been telling him that for like how many weeks?
No, it
now?
gets better. Well, I
But I
think
get
Kevin
it.
has
I'm
seen
a
it
Star
better.
Trek fan. I know we're still in the first season. I get it.
But
Yeah.
Kevin, you can be honest with us. It's getting better for you, right? Like for the most
Yeah.
part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not.
getting
It's
to
only
know
every
at
like.
least a few of these characters. I still wish they would do more with more people, like with
Yeah.
more of the crew.
Yeah, that's one thing that definitely in the first season they don't do. They always have like 2 or 3 people as the main focus, and then everybody else is just kind of in the background. Yeah.
But it's always the same 2 or 3 people. It's a lot.
Well,
like,
it's always Archer anyway.
It's a
Archer
lot
to Paul.
like original
It's Archer
series.
to Paul, it's Archer Trip, or it's something to do with Malcolm, but yet Archer and T'Pol and Trip. are all
Malcolm gets
involved.
to be in there a little bit, but like Hoshi, Phlox, and Mayweather in particular, these 3 are not used a whole hell of a lot. Like
Not in the first season for sure. Yeah.
No.
right? And Mayweather gets a little bit more in this episode, but even then, it's he's just kind of like,
Yeah, but honestly, you could have used anybody.
Right,
in
oh,
Malcolm-
yeah.
in
But-
Mayweather's role in this one, and it would have been just the normal.
That's what struck me about this one. It
It would have been better if they had like
he's supposed
Hoshi
to
in
be
this
one
one.
of the main characters, and he's still barely in this.
But why did he get to leave the ship on this? Like, I don't even know that. Like, because he can
Yeah.
drive a shuttlecraft.
actually, they're both
Yeah,
pilots.
it's-
It's
yeah.
weird
They're
that
both
they
pilots. Yeah.
they both kind of went to whatever their mission was. They were doing a survey mission of the Curiosity killed the cat.
I think it was
whatever.
more like a designated driver type thing.
It might have just been Mayweather's turn.
Archer was driving around with all that bourbon.
And
I did-
Jody, you made another great point earlier on. Like, why do they need a helmsman?
Really, that's rare for me. But anyway,
You know,
what's that?
Why do
Why
they
do
need
they-
a helmsman? You just get the ship to drive them anywhere. Like,
Yeah, like come
it'd
on,
be better. It'd be more accurate.
How much
You
flying?
can't tell me with this huge ass ship they haven't figured out how to do cruise control. Like shit, we got cars that can fucking drive themselves at this point.
Warp
Like,
drive
you
doesn't
can't tell me you can't do this on a 3-axis type situation.
when you're at warp, you're just at warp. It's not really like
There's
it's
not
kinda-
much driving involved. You're phasing
No.
through everything.
Yeah, but when you're, it's more
The
for
warp
like
field's basically moving the
ship.
world around you. So
Right.
it's anyway.
whatever they were looking for something, and then they got shot down, and they got put in here. But like the one thing with Mayweather in this episode is there's like the main Sulaban guy, and then there's like this more timid Sulaban guy who's too afraid. He thinks that like maybe Archer and Mayweather are infiltrators here to
Yeah.
kind of trick them into trying some kind of an escape or trying some kind of an uprising. This is the guy who played like the rapey Andorian. And like
Oh, that's where I know him from. Okay.
yeah, right. Who was
Alright.
like, "Hey,
Yeah.
T'Pol, I heard you guys like to do your crazy Vulcan sex things." Yeah, so in this episode, like when Mayweather,
I was like, who is that guy? Yeah, okay.
yeah, Mayweather says like, "Well, we kind of look like what's this race called, Jody? Like the
Tandorians.
the Tandorians or whatever." Yeah, like he's like we because we look like
Tandorians,
Tandorians. You
yeah.
think we're like Tandorians, and so there's kind of like he kind of throws it back at him a bit and says,
Tandarians, sorry.
Tandarians, yeah. That like for trust, you have to sort of it has to go both ways, and for and by the end, he kind of convinces him to like, be brave and stand up and try and join in the effort here that they can kind of work together here.
Yeah, which is basically what 3/4 of the episode is. It's basically Archer, kind of almost getting ready to have like a coup type thing going on, and then essentially, Trip shows up with a shuttle pod and shoots everything, and then all of a sudden they're free. Like that's really the whole premise.
Like, isn't there a good chance like that that Archer could have started a war here between Earth
Yes,
and-
Absolutely.
Like,
Every single time
settle
Archer
down
leaves
there,
the ship.
guy. Like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe when.
Like if
Like-
you were in charge of Starfleet in this infancy, and you heard what was in his logs based on what he's done over the last, let's say, 6 months, you would instantly call this guy back. Like
Yeah.
he is
You're a
definitely
rogue. You're out of control.
yeah, like you're
Come back.
not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like you're really just causing shit everywhere. And that's what I said when I started when we started this series, and I explained that to Kevin. Really was like the whole point of this series is to show what not to do in Star Trek, because it literally is like they're fucking up everything, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of like it. Is it doesn't show us that perfect diplomacy thing that seems to happen a lot.
I
in
feel
Star
like
Trek.
an O'Brien in this same situation is going to free people.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
I-
O'Brien would, but that's why O'Brien isn't in charge of a starship,
Yeah, but again,
right?
like think about it differently. Bide your time. They're not going anywhere, right?
No.
Go back to your ship. do some diplomacy. Then if it doesn't work, go in and do your stuff.
Then
But yeah,
go in and shoot some
yeah,
shit
but
up. Yeah.
Trip is like coming down, blowing up gun towers, and
The other thing I couldn't understand is why didn't they try to beam them?
Well, they could have beamed them out. They could have at least beamed
there was
out.
no mention that there was anything stopping that.
Right.
well, they beam
So-
Malcolm in.
They
That's
beam
right.
Malcolm in.
If you
and,
could
and
beam
when-
Malcolm in, why couldn't you beam everybody out and just fucking haul?
you would
tail
have to
and
do it.
run?
I think the transporter can only do maybe 1 or 2 people at a time at this
Yeah,
this
that's
version.
fine.
So they definitely could have rescued Mayweather and Archer here. That was
So
that they knew
Reed
that.
goes down. Reed goes, okay, stay still. We're gonna start sending y'all back. And then
Or
they start
do it at
zipping them back
night.
up, or
Like,
do
they're
it
not
at night.
checking it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
Like
I
it
guess
didn't seem like it was a very highly secured facility to begin with. Like, yeah, they had guns and shit, but that was like whatever.
I just found that, like, you know, I don't know, cowboy diplomacy, I guess, to quote, you know.
Well, it was almost like the same thing with like Undiscovered Country, like when Kirk and McCoy end up on the planet, the mining planet, right? They're like, well, we don't have much defenses because if you fucking run, you're gonna die. So enjoy it. You know, why did they just do something like that here? Just say, okay, well, if you get outside the barricades or whatever.
Are you talking about in Star Trek 6?
Yeah.
That's
Because that's why they said
That
they
was a-
didn't have any defenses on the outside of the planet.
Just
Because
the,
it's like you'll fucking
yeah.
die. You'll freeze to death and die. Like, we don't care. Run. See what happens. Like, that's really what they said, right? Like, so anyway.
Yeah,
but-
I'm just trying to think. Okay, if you're Admiral Forrest and you get this report back, okay, so my captain of my only long-range starship gets captured along with Mayweather. They get detained for 3 days, and then they become
then
sympathetic.
they cause a ruckus.
They become sympathetic to the plight
Yeah.
of the Suliban in this camp, and therefore they have a chance to escape, but they don't. Instead, they choose to stage a riot within this place. And yeah, like I get that what the Tendurians are doing is immoral, but this
But there's no fact checking, Dave.
right, you know, and there's no.
Have you ever seen the movie Team America World Police?
Yes.
This is essentially the same thing. Archer is essentially the world police, but he's the universe police. He's like, oh, this isn't right. I have to fix this. And it's like everybody else just like, Archer, leave it alone. Like, you don't understand it. Leave it alone.
I mean, he's done this numerous times. You know, coming back to that episode,
And he
where-
still is going to do it. Trust me.
yeah.
There's a lot more. of him
Kirk
to do
used to
this.
do stuff like this too.
That's
This
true.
is-
That's
it's
true.
like we're
Even Picard to a lesser degree.
Yes,
I
guess
think I think Picard would at least go to Data and say, "Hey, is this accurate?"
but
Yeah,
I think
is this logical? Yeah.
I think you need to put yourself in the context of this particular year and where Earth is in like their interstellar travel, because when Kirk and Picard, I guess, tussle it up with some aliens, I think the Federation's strong enough to, like, if they have to, they can deal with this. But like Earth is vulnerable. Like if these Tandorians came for them, came for Earth, is Earth really capable of defending itself against
No.
a belligerent species? Like they have one
Probably
ship.
not. Yeah.
And maybe some freighters that go really
Well,
slow.
they got ships that can, fly around the galaxy, but that's it, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's-
and I don't know if the Vulcans are gonna like come to the aid, or like, if because we know that wars happen in the Star Trek galaxy all the time. Like this
Oh,
race
yeah,
is fighting
yeah.
this race and
Dominion
whatever.
War and all that. yeah.
And so yeah, like I was like, well, this could have gone super poor, and their whole purpose out here is to try to make friends and establish good relations with these aliens.
Yeah.
But
And-
all I think is that some consideration should be made for the Tandorans who have been under attack by the Cabal, and we don't know exactly what's happened in that war, and
Mhm.
and I get it. There's fear factors, and there's probably incorrect fear factors, but however they're reacting just like our people did in 2000 in World War II.
Well, and you see the moment that Archer decides that he's going to do this, and it's when he says, "This is an internment camp." He says that at one point in the episode, and that okay, well, that's it.
And it is.
He's
Well, it
breaking out.
is. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not wrong.
He delivers that line in a way where already, like.
Well,
okay,
even this scene that's
he's
playing
gonna break
behind me
all
right
these
now,
people.
like he's being a complete ass. Like at this point, you already know what he's up to, right? He's like, what do you know about the Suliban? And he's like, well, this guy's this high, and a really skinny looking dude.
But one question, like when the colonel there, he's reacting and saying, they're safer in here. Like, if you let them go, they're going to be in danger. What does that mean?
Yeah, and they don't really elaborate on that too much.
Oh, he
do
says,
they?
well, like they might be attacked by Tandorians, like just on the street, right? If they were in because the Suleiman were integrated into their society.
And they say that the Cabal will hunt them down and turn them into soldiers. That's his biggest fear.
Recruit them. And it made me think of the Afghanistan war from the last 20 years and how like the lines were so muddled in that war and in that country over like who was in the Taliban, who wasn't, and how that ultimately led to the failure of that war because you're trying to sort out the good guys from the bad guys and sort of this.
To be able to fight your enemy, you have to know them, and if you don't know them or you don't understand how the structure is, then how do you fight them, right?
Right.
And that's one of the failures that happened, right?
This is happening in Burkina Faso right now, where there's a whole bunch of militants who are attacking legitimate military, and it's there's a lot of how do you? And then the military reacts much like these Tandorians do, they're just rounding up random civilians because they suspect that they could be in these insurgent groups, but they might not be, and then that's completely unjust as well. But that's kind of what that kind of war breeds. When you, it's that's why the
the one thing I did like about this episode, guys, it just reminded me because I saw this thing back here, is an episode where Trip does not argue with T'Pol. If you notice, he didn't argue the entire time.
T'Pol's very much on Archer's.
They're on the same page, but they have two different philosophies to it.
I think that T'Pol waited, and then she said, "Okay, let's go. We'll do it."
Yeah.
But she makes a point. If we're going to explore the galaxy, we have to respect the laws of these alien cultures. And
absolutely, 100%.
Right?
I can't go to another country in this world even and think that I can do whatever the hell I want. It's that culture might have a different outlook on what I'm doing. I can't just because I drive on the right hand side of the road here doesn't mean I can do that everywhere. To simplify it, but
they clearly didn't respect it because
no, they didn't.
These Suleiman are also citizens of this Tandarian. They're not. It's not just one race oppressing another race exactly because they're they lived in one state.
Yeah.
It's it would be an ethnic minority in a country I don't know, if there were Ukrainians in Russia or something like that, that were getting persecuted. But it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know what the job of Starfleet is here. I don't I wonder if this even came up in Archer's training. Okay, when you get
universe
out there,
police,
you're just the universe police. I guess that's the morality of humans at this time, or at least his morality. I don't know. I don't know how another captain may or may not have dealt with this in the same who's the one who comes after him, Erica Hernandez or whatever, the one who's the captain of Columbia. She was kind of
the other ship.
She's a little bit cooler than Archer, right?
She's a little bit more seasoned. You get the idea that she's much more seasoned,
less a cowboy.
She's much more diplomatic. She's more Picard than Kirk.
Right. And Archer's even more Kirk than Kirk.
Yeah, he's actually more Kirk than Kirk because Kirk would at least have some sort of diplomatic ideas at times, whereas
Kirk would have done the exact same thing.
Oh, in this scenario, Kirk would definitely have done the same thing.
But I think Spock would have done things, I guess, that T'Pol doesn't. Spock just I don't think he would have gone along with it as easily as T'Pol goes along with it.
Spock would be like, "Oh no, there must be a better way." Blah blah blah. We'll
you got to look at it.
T'Pol's just like, "I'm learning from these humans. Let's kick some ass."
Yeah, she's like, "Let's do it." Let's.
I did like this little whole speech with him and her, and she's blocking the airwaves and shit.
I was hoping you'd join me for dinner.
Yeah,
What about dinner?
And it's just the way that she pronounces everything as she's doing it and stuff. It's just so sarcastic.
Well,
but
I don't know if sarcasm is the right word. I think she was trying to be amenable and trying to get the guy to come.
Facetious, maybe.
No,
no.
Trying to.
That was her best attempt at flirting.
I was just going to say.
Is that flirting? Okay.
Come on, Colonel. Come join me.
I can tell you're an enlightened man.
We have chicken. That's all she had to say.
You eat chicken. Our chef is making something in your honor. Yeah, just that was my favorite part of the episode with her. Just being.
She was definitely the star of the episode, in my opinion. But anyway,
Again,
like she always
honestly,
is.
guys, I don't think we have too much more to say about this. I don't know about you guys, but I can't think of anything else really. Like it's your standard Star Trek fare, other than the reactions, I guess.
Part of me really wonders if they were thinking about reusing this Dean Stockwell character again, because I feel
I got that impression too.
They allude to that in the trivia, basically saying this was his only performance. Like, I think they needed to do more with him. They were also trying to bring them back together. They had good chemistry on Quantum Leap. If you ever watched that show, together they were good. It was the
problem
best
though is in 2002. Does anybody care about Quantum Leap?
Well, no,
it's not. It ended 9 years earlier. Like,
right?
Yeah, so it'd been off the air for a while. But
I guarantee Sam has never watched Quantum Leap.
No,
his only guide on this journey is Al.
Sam, if you're still around, let us know if you ever watched Quantum Leap.
He wants to know if we've ever seen the movie filmed in Newfoundland last summer.
There was only one.
Yeah, it was called. Did you know what? Or I know what you did last summer in Newfoundland.
It was probably.
It come from away in Newfoundland.
It was probably. Have you been to Peggy's Cove?
That's
in Nova Scotia.
Oh no, that's Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's how much I know about Newfoundland.
Yeah, they're very far apart.
Much. They're
both on the East Coast, but like
I know where they are, Dave. I don't know much about them.
The other thing too, I saw that in the background there was when you were talking there, Jody, that the space battle could have been shown more. I feel like they cheaped out on that. They were like, and we
literally like it was like, let's do a quick cutscene that would be in a video game.
But
I always actually appreciate that.
This is
what's that?
They're at war. I mean, these are like they're attacking a base. They're attacking ships.
Right.
My goodness,
and
people are probably dying.
I get like getting your people out. I get that part of it because like they're the two getting Archer and Mayweather out. I guess like helping spring all these Suliban out. Even though I agree they don't deserve to be there, but
why does the shuttle have to be lowered?
Because for some reason this Enterprise has no like rear bay. You have
but it can hover. The shuttle can hover, so why couldn't it just drop? I always wondered that, but anyway.
This magnetic like
maybe at certain speeds it has to be like that. I don't know. Anyway,
it's the whole like shuttle bay of Enterprise is a bit. Curious.
It's off. Yeah,
it's a weird design.
Yeah, it's like their ready room. Same idea.
Yeah,
a little weird.
Some different choices there.
Yeah, you figure because they don't have a beaming culture yet, they would need a better hangar deck, right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's got to be huge.
Yeah, well, like I've seen some technical schematics and like the.
But I think they only had 2 shuttles.
Yeah, I think so. 2 or
I think there was only 2 assigned to this one.
There's only 2 like bays, like bay doors.
Did they get their shuttle back?
I don't know.
Yeah,
because they left on the one
probably not.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Well, Shuttle Bay 1 is Shuttle Pod 1 is the one that they were Trip and what's his name? Malcolm were in there.
Yeah, and they leave on 2 with
and they leave on 2
here at the right, or are they? No, because he's flying this one, so I think they do fly 1 out. Because what's it?
Well, they had to have 2 at this point.
Trip's not there.
Trip's in the other one.
Trip's in the other one.
Yeah. Okay.
So they do. Yeah.
So they have to have at least 2 running. Yeah.
All right. It's not like Deep Space Nine where they're blowing up runabouts.
I'm wondering how long it took them to build it, because it 6 months and they still didn't have that damn cannon ready. That was a cannon.
The technology and like their capabilities kind of varies and depending on what the needs of the story are.
Look at these lasers, eh? Ooh, that's some good phaser action right there.
Yeah, like I liked this episode, but I also felt like it could have been even stronger than it was. Like I felt like
it could have been stronger, but you know what? Coming off of last week's episode, this thing is stellar.
It's bad. It was better than Oasis. Oh yeah.
Oh, Oasis is terrible.
Yeah. Hey, how about some fun facts?
Hey, let's do some fun facts. That'd be fun.
I've got them. I've got fun facts.
Oh, we should probably take the couple out. But anyway.
Okay. Oh, let me get going here.
A couple. Well, they could be a couple too.
That was from last week.
Yeah. That was there was only 2. All right. So this episode is an allegory of the events surrounding the forced relocation of Japanese American citizens, including a young George Takei if you remember that.
Yeah.
During World War II.
He was in those camps, yeah.
Yep. In that the Suliban are being detained in an internment camp despite being innocent. This was said to be for their own protection. For more information, see the entry on Mazinar. which was also referenced in this episode. Mayweather, Anthony Montgomery, particularly enjoyed this installment of his character's role in it. He stated, "I was really excited about that one. It has nothing to do with Travis being a boomer at all. He got to learn about human compassion. I don't want it to sound preachy because it was really easy to fall into the trap, but everything just comes across as being passionate. I love the fact that Travis had to be the one that had the debate about prejudice, considering that African Americans are prejudged more often than not. This was a really special episode for me. This is the best line, and not just because they gave me work to do."
I still think it's the latter, but anyway.
Yeah, woo!
Wow.
I got it. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell worked together for 5 seasons on the sci-fi series Quantum Leap. They played Dr. Sam Beckett, the Leaper who traveled through time, and Rear Admiral Albert Kalavecki, his holographic observer, respectively.
Hey, Sam, you remember that song we put in Ziggy's memory banks a few years ago? No, this is rap. I gotta make up words. Let's see. You're a Looney Tune in a big white room, and I'm a hologram from the future. Now I'm moving fast back into the past, and I got to say I'm pleased to meet you. You're my man. I'm a fan. You got to
I don't know if we
understand.
need to continue
You've got
this.
the power.
Thanks for having that. All right.
No, don't thank him. That encourages him.
Rick Berman remembered, "We always thought it would have fun to be fun to get the two of them together again, and I spoke to Scott and he thought it'd be a great idea. Stockwell was delighted to do it. It was a lot of fun. In fact, making the episode was likable for all actors." 1 week after the episode's production, Bakula commented, "We had a ball."
Yeah.
Woohoo.
But like you said earlier, Adam, like what he went on to go to do on Battlestar was so much even greater than what he did on this, or certainly on even.
Oh man, he was so good in that.
Yeah. Was David Suzuki in one of those camps? Was he in a Japanese internment camp?
I think he was actually.
I think
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
During this broadcast, the episode received a Nielsen rating of 3.0 and was watched by a total of 4.88 million viewers. This was the lowest Nielsen rating at Enterprise's first season.
That's because of Oasis.
But like, yeah,
they
people
watched
never
that.
came back,
They
yeah.
watched that a week before. Can you imagine even trying to go back?
You think like that? Like it would be like the Dean Stockwell, at least for like the Quantum Leap diehards. You think they would be in for this, right? If there's a thing.
I think that's why it was like, okay, we got a really shitty episode. We're going to try to get him back through Stockwell. I don't know. And the unofficial reference beyond the Final Frontier comments about this episode hints that the Suliban situation is more complicated than we've realized up until now, and a fine confrontation between Bakula and Stockwell makes for a great episode. Actually, I do agree with that. I think we've only seen the Suliban as one particularly,
true. Yeah.
negative, adversary, right? And now we see behind the scenes.
Yeah, we saw the same thing with the Borg in Next Generation when, they, what's his name got cut off, Hugh, I guess it was, and all that. So same idea, like they progress, they're progressing the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
Like even like the Suliban as bad guys towards Enterprise, even at this point, is somewhat like, okay, maybe a little bit. Like, he said,
that's a good point.
Arch. And then in the second time, he's like, "I saved your life, Jonathan. Don't you know what's really going on, Jonathan?" He loves to call him Jonathan.
You like to do the voice too.
Hello, Jonathan. Get in, Jonathan. Yeah, go on.
Adam's like, "Are you done?"
I might be.
During 2 scenes in this episode, Grat is operating a pad similar to the handheld computer, which was known as a hand link, which Dean Stockwell's character used in Quantum Leap.
You mean Ziggy?
Yes, to communicate with the show's
Don't play it, Dave.
AI Ziggy. Do you have that,
No,
Dave?
right. I have not exactly. I was really looking for a Ziggy reference, but it was hard to find. No, I don't.
Okay, and that wraps up the fun facts for this week. Nothing shattering, but I think anytime you bring anybody back from a show where people work together before, you're going to get interest, and just like it did for us. So Stockwell's good. And he died in 2021, by the way.
Yeah, he died.
I didn't know that.
Last year. Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So because there was some talk about would there be like a Quantum Leap reboot or revival or something. Without him, I don't know. Like,
I think in even Battlestar, he was looking aged. Like he's looking a little tired.
yeah, I don't even think he was as like that old when he died. Like he was, but like you know, there are people who live. Dean Stockwell lived to 85. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
good.
Yeah. All right. Well,
What did
hey
he die
guys,
of?
what did he die of? What did he die of? Death. Natural causes.
Oh, well,
I
that's
was
good.
going to say being 85.
Being 85.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Yeah.
same thing, really.
I don't know. People live to 100. So.
Well, I'm not going to give this episode a rating of 100, Dave, because that would
No.
be completely off of our scale. But we
That'd be
should
a little
check our
bit. That would be a
ratings
little
anyway.
bit much, maybe.
That would be odd. That would be odd. Yeah.
I still laugh at last week's 4.5.
Yeah, it was just like
Oasis sucks.
it's even
Right up
worse
there
than
with
like
Terra.
right,
It is
like,
garbage.
It's even worse than a bunch of like ones because at least they were like, "This is so bad." It's almost like you would appreciate it, but this like when you just get a bunch of 4s and 3s.
There was no appreciating
What
last week.
fours mean is it started good and then just went to shit.
It went to shit. Yeah.
You had a great idea, but you blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's basically it.
Jody, what would you give this one though? Detained.
I'm gonna give this one a 7.5.
7.5. Adam.
7.
7 from Adam. I'll go 7.5 as well. Actually, 7.3. Kevin.
It's a good thing you didn't accidentally put that 7.5. Dave.
Oh, that would have just screwed it all up.
I was like, it's too much. It's too much. But 7 would be too low. So that.
All right, I'll go 7.4 then.
Can I change mine to 7.4351?
0.4. We'll round up.
I'd like to bid $1, Bob.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we got the accurate representation.
Yeah. So 7.3 is our average for tonight. That's our best episode. Well, I guess since acquisition, which but it's still not. We don't like it quite as much.
Acquisition's better.
That's a fairly decent rating on IMDb, and was
Yeah, but IMDb rated Oasis 7 too.
Yeah,
True.
which just goes to show you IMDb is full of shit. Like
Then-
it's
it's something. I don't know.
there's probably like 8 like Archer fanboys out there that just keep voting under different IPs or something.
You know, if it
Like-
gets in the 6s, if IMDb is giving it this show in the 6s, it's bad. It's a bad episode, and like versus like when you go to like the Discovery or the Picard ratings, which are like almost super low on almost intentionally. More than like, yeah, and again, like Rick Berman and Brandon Braga write every friggin' story this season?
Oh yeah,
It's-
like this is the first season is all them for the most part.
yeah, and like sometimes they'll bring in another guy like Beck or Chris Black or whatever, but it's just yeah. I think they were trying to save the show. I think they were trying to come in here and like.
I think they were trying to sell it to somebody who didn't want it, and I think that was the bigger issue that we had here.
right.
Like this wasn't on any network that cared about Star Trek.
There was a
gotta
big
remember that.
gap here between like the last episode we watched, Oasis, and this. There was over a month and a half between these airings. So there was and by the way, we are now in 2152 in terms like it's actually we've gone to the new year. Who would you say this episode focuses on? If anybody?
Oh, this is an Archer Mayweather episode for
Archer
sure.
and Mayweather, I guess. Yeah,
More Archer though.
It's a Paul again.
it's kind of
It should have been DePaul though.
but not.
It's
It's
not an
ensemble, but
ensemble.
like not Phlox just pointed a red.
It's an ensemble as in one other person. But
Yeah. Well, and I guess Reed has a bit to do with the undercover Suleiman thing, but yeah. Anyway, Detained 7.3. What episode comes after this, Jody?
oh well, I happen to know that, Dave. It is Voxala is the name of the episode. That is Hoshi desperately tries to communicate with a symbiotic alien creature that captures crew members, including Archer and Trip, cocoons them in its web, and bonds with them. This one's actually really weird. I like this one.
It
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
This
I
is
don't
a
know.
weird one.
It's different. This is a different than we've seen.
If you like the movie Aliens, you'll like this one.
Okay. So it's
It's
like in that
very-
vein.
It's
an
kind of well, it's got some similar things to it. But
In like a body
Like
snatcher.
weird, and it'll be nice to see Hoshi do something.
yeah, this is a very Hoshi episode.
She has a very big job to do in this next one.
Yeah, she's
Will
literally
she
the
get
only
through?
one
Will
that's
she come
available.
through?
Yeah.
Will she come through?
Is she gonna be like Sigourney Weaver? Is that gonna be?
No.
No, she's not that cool.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Ripley.
Yeah, she would be like with her. She's come a long way since the stars were going the wrong way for her.
Which
Well,
still doesn't
once
make
the
sense.
stars went the right way. Yeah, it still doesn't make any sense at all. But anyway,
Yeah, they're going the wrong way, sir.
you know. But what else does make sense though, Dave? The other content that's available on this channel that is Star Trek related.
That is right, Jody. At least for at least tomorrow night we'll continue our rewatch of Star Trek Deep Space Nine that we've been doing for
2.5 year mission.
Or the 3.5 in total.
3.5. Excuse me.
Yeah. Tomorrow we're going to be covering the two-parter, In Purgatory's Shadow and By Inferno's Light. This is like a real kickoff episode to the Dominion War. This is where Dukat, he did the turn. Cardassius joining the Dominion, Changeling Bashir is revealed, and there's a lot of great stuff in this.
You guys at DS9 at 9ish have actually got more content to go through than like the original series. Like,
oh yeah,
it took them less time to shoot that series than it did for you guys to comment on everything at DS9.
And only 40-minute episodes.
Yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but tomorrow's a two-parter, so we got a lot to cover on tomorrow. And then I'm trying to figure out when we're gonna like move the night. I saw Jeff at Easter dinner. I was like, "What do we do, Jeff?" He's like, "What do you want to do?" I was like,
"So he was being Jeff." Okay.
Yeah, he was being Jeff, and I was being me, and you can imagine how it went.
I'm surprised you didn't just get well, do whatever.
So you just
do whatever.
I'm surprised Dave doesn't say we're doing this.
I imagine Jeff just sitting there going, "I'm trying to eat."
Yeah,
and he had the baby.
What are we even talking about this for? Yeah.
He's got the new baby. He wasn't even trying to eat. He was, him and Amanda were tag teaming with Prudence. So anyway, all good. So we're going to be doing that because ball hockey is getting started for our team, which is going to be mostly on Tuesday nights. So at least for the season, we're going to have to probably find a new night or something, or go on a hiatus. One of the two.
Well, Monday's taken.
Monday's taken. I'm pushing for Wednesday, but that kind of interferes with Survivor, and which is a good segue as well. So of course, D Space 9 at 9 is a rewatch podcast you should check out. Although on Thursdays we're doing Star Trek Picard right now. The next episode is called Mercy. It will be the 8th episode.
It better
of the
get better.
Season. New director coming in for these next Joe. It's the same guy as last week actually. Joe
so
Menendez.
I've been reading a lot about last week's episode over the weekend, and man, like everybody's really hoping that this is the turnaround episode.
Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff to fill at this point.
Yeah,
because that last episode was bad.
It seems like they have I feel like they have just a couple too many episodes this season for this story. It just feels like they're killing time before they get to episode.
At this point,
the problem is they're going week to week on a show that should be just binged.
Yeah, right.
You're in the middle of a movie, so you just watch the middle part. That's why that.
Yeah, you're watching the boring point before the the climax.
Yeah. I'm curious as to why Paramount and Viacom they just don't drop a whole season like that together, like in one day, like a House of Cards or
that's easy to
Ozark.
figure out. They're trying to sell their streaming service.
But they could do that if people binge watched it. I guess it would. I guess
yeah,
it
but you
prolongs...
binge watch it and then cancel it.
But Netflix doesn't do that. Like
I did that with Disney.
I'm
not paying for Disney anymore.
Right, but you would.
Do I really need to pay for my kids to watch The Simpsons all fucking day? Like no.
But when like a new show's out, like that you want to watch on Disney, would you like?
I just pirate it now.
You just pirate it.
Done. Yeah. You know what? These streaming services need to do something better. Like they're just. But anyway, that's a whole other.
Anyway, that's the whole thing. Anyway, we're talking about Picard on Thursdays, and then Star Trek Radio Theater when we do script reads. Most recently, we did Darmok. The edit is still in progress, but it will be released. And then we're looking
very well done.
The live version alone was great, and I'm really excited to get the produced version done. And then we'll be doing Family Business coming up in May, and I guess that's in a few weeks. So we gotta get started getting organized. We'll figure out the date for that. And what else? Also Wednesdays right now we're covering Survivor season 42 with Jaemeel and Jeff and I. We're into the merge. If you're into Survivor, check that out. And Big Brother Canada 10. Yes, Sam, we will be on later tonight to talk about this week 8, as there's only a few more weeks left in Big Brother Canada 10. And
until the next season that starts in 20 days or something.
Well, we got Big Brother USA coming up too.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. It's like all these countries.
It's like Survivor. They're on what season
42
now? Yeah,
42.
They have 8 seasons in a year now.
2.
Two.
2 for the last 21 years.
You're really fucking up my bit here. All right.
Yeah.
Like,
I've heard it all. And then what else? Oh, Trivial Debates, a monthly show. We argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. Eamon Mader going to be hosting the next episode on May 1st. We know Matt Jordan.
Sam Jerka himself.
Sam Jerka himself. We got
Jerka,
Chris Seymour's coming in, and we're working on the third contestant.
I heard some rumors.
Oh well, I don't know. I don't even know if it's like worth it for you to come in at him because I think you'll just like clean their clocks.
Because even if you win, you're still going to be kind of a loser.
No, but Chris beat me.
I know, but like, especially with you coming in motivated, this is like a fight. Like,
Can do my research. I'll have notes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like,
well, hold on. We're supposed to have notes.
Well, he does. Yeah, this is why he
okay.
wins. He's effective in the ring. So anyway, so check out that. Jody, do you want to go on Survivor or Big Brother Canada?
No. No, hell
Sam
no.
wants you on it.
Sorry, Sam. I'm stopping there. There's no way in hell I'm going to cover Survivor.
No, he wants you to be on it.
Oh, like actually on it?
Yeah, contestant.
If I'm allowed to bring like a bow and some arrows, maybe, but that's about it.
Well, which one would you rather play, Survivor or Big Brother Canada?
Oh, Survivor for sure.
Yeah.
Is there Wi-Fi?
No Wi-Fi.
Oh, I don't need Wi-Fi.
Then no.
No Wi-Fi. No outside contact.
I can only hunt with a bow, so. You know.
And we're on tonight at 10. Sam, we'll be on in an hour to cover Big Brother Canada.
That's 11:30 Newfoundland time.
That's right. That's right. It's late for him.
That's pretty late.
Also, you should check out our friends and families podcast. My son, Eamon Mader, also known as Sam Jerka, has Let's Talk About Fighting Games. They talk about fighting games. Check out also the Hellbound podcast with Michael Chan and Alex Blackburn, a horror podcast every Wednesday.
Don't you promote him. Don't you promote him.
Who?
You know who.
Chan?
No, not Chan.
Oh, you mean.
Oh, I know what you're going to do.
You know, yeah, Mr. Devin.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
Cough cough. X-Rated X-Men the Animated Review Show. Check that I think they're on Tuesdays right now.
If he doesn't show up for this Thursday though, we're done. We're cutting ties.
Dad, if you're watching,
I'm getting tired of him saying he's sleeping in or he has to deal with his kids. Whatever. Whatever. Stop being a good father.
I'm heading out to Nova Scotia, so maybe we'll do a podcast from there together. So anyway, I think that's it. Everything, unless I've forgotten. And on that note, I think we can probably go out on a clip, Jody, if you're good for it.
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm sure.
And so Dr. Beckett finds himself leaping from life to life, striving to put right what once went wrong, and hoping each time that his next leap will be the leap home.
This is why I don't miss the 80s.
I'm a hologram from the future.